Today I am going to read the short story. It is a post war short story, The Moment of Truth by Graham Greene. Be with me and read with me, and kindly please, forgive me for the sounds outside. I love to read for myself, and I just not suppress myself to record it, so I'm just recording it right now, and I hope you will find it much more what should I say, I'm like realistic, because these sounds are very annoying and we can't avoid it. So let's start. The moment of truth. The near approach of death is like a crime which one is ashamed to confess to friends or fellow workers, and yet there remains a longing to confide in someone, perhaps a stranger in the street. Arthur Barton carried his secret to and fro to the kitchen and back, just as he carried the plates and the orders of the clients, as he had done for years in the Kenningston restaurant, which was called Chez Auguste. There was nothing French about it, except the name and the menu, where the English dishes were given French names, explained at length in English under each title. Twice in 1 week, an American couple had booked the same table, a small one in a corner under a window, a man of about 60 years and a woman in her late 40s, a very happy couple. There are clients whom one likes at the first encounter, and these were among them. They asked Arthur Barton's advice before they ordered, and later they expressed their appreciation of his choice. They trusted him even over the wine, and on their second visit they asked him little questions about himself, as though he were a fellow guest whom they were anxious to know better. "Been here long?" Mr. Hogminster asked. Arthur Barton had learned his curious name when he telephoned for his reservation. About 20 years, Barton replied. It was a different restaurant when I came, called the Queen's. Better in those days. Arthur Barton tried to be loyal. I wouldn't say better. Simplet tests change. Is he French, your boss? No, sir, but he has been to France a lot, I think. We are happy to have your help. We don't know all these French words in the menu, but it's put in English, sir. I guess we don't understand that sort of English either. Anyway, we will be along again tomorrow if you let us have the same table. Arthur, isn't it? I think I heard the boss call you Arthur. That's right, sir. I will see that you have this table. And your help, Arthur, Mrs. Hogminster said. He was touched by the use of his first name and the smile of real friendship which he received from Mrs. Hogminster. In all his years as a waiter, he had known nothing like it before. Arthur Barton was in the habit of observing the customers, superficially, if only to keep an interest in his job which it was too late to change. He was alone in life, so there was no initiative for a change, and now he was well aware that it was too late. The crime of death had touched him. Often when he went home at night, if a bed-sitting room with a shared shower could be called a home, he would remember certain customers, married customers who seemed to lunch together without interest, watching those who came in with a certain envy if the newcomers had words to say to each other, obvious new lovers who paid attention to no one else, sometimes a married young woman. He always looked at the left hand with a look of anxiety accompanied by a much older man. She lowered her voice or even ceased to talk when neighbors took the next table, and Arthur Barton wished that he could have left it empty so that they would be free to solve their problem. When he got home that night, he thought of Mr. and Mrs. Hogminster. He wished he had spoken more to them. He felt that he could trust them, like strangers in the street. He might at least have hinted at the crime which separated him from the manager, the cook, the other waiters, the washers up. Only hinted, of course. He wouldn't like them to be distressed. They were half an hour late the next day for their reservation, and the manager wanted him to give up the table to other guests who asked for it. They wouldn't be coming, the manager argued, and anyway, there are 3 other tables to choose from. But they like this table, Arthur Barton said, and I promised they would have it. He added, they are kind good people, but P probably would have been forced to give way if they had not at that moment arrived. Oh, I'm so sorry, Arthur. We are terribly late. He was touched that he said, he was touched that she had remembered his name. It was the sales, Arthur. We got involved. She got involved, Mr. Hogminster said. Oh, it will be your turn tomorrow. Arthur told them. There are restaurants closer to the men's shops. I can recommend one near Jarmin Street. Oh, but it's Sage Augustine that we love. Sage Augustine, Mr. Hogminster corrected her. And Arthur, he chooses so well for us. We don't have to think. A man with a secret is a very lonely man, and it was relief to Arthur Barton when he could uncover even a small corner of his secret. He said, I'm sorry, ma'am, but tomorrow I wouldn't be here, but I'm sure the manager... Not here? Quille Dester? Why? I have to go to hospital. Oh, Arthur, I'm so sorry. What for? Is it serious? A checkup, ma'am. Very wise. Mr. Hogminster said, I believe in checkups. He has had 4 or is it 6? Mrs. Hogminster added, I think he enjoys them, but it always worries me. What are they checking you for? They have already done the checkup, now they have to tell me the result. Oh, I'm sure it will be all right, Arthur. I am happy you have enjoyed yourselves here, ma'am. We have, all thanks to you. Arthur Barton said with truth, I'm sorry that we have to say goodbye. Oh no, not yet. We will be here again on Thursday, tomorrow. We will take your advice and eat near the main shop, but we will be back the day after to have our last meal at Chez Augustine. Chez Augustine. Mr. Hogminster corrected her again, but she ignored him. We are flying to New York on Friday, but we will certainly see you on Thursday and hear you good news, Arthur. I'm sure it will be good news. I will be thinking of you and crossing my fingers, but I'm sure, quite sure. I have a checkup every 6 months, Mr. Hogminster said. Always satisfactory. Is there anything special you would like on Thursday, ma'am? I can ask the cook. No, we will take what you recommend. Until then, and good luck, Arthur. Arthur Barton knew that no good luck awaited him. He had known it even before the checkup by the evasiveness of his doctor. He wondered whether a man in the dock could tell the jury's verdict even before they retired from the court in the days when there was still a death sentence. An emanation of shame at what they were going to pronounce. Yet he had a sense of relief because he had at least confessed half his crime to her and she had not rejected him. If, as he believed, the verdict was death, however they wrapped it up in medical phrases of hope, might she be the stranger in the street to whom he could confess the whole? They would never see each other again. She was leaving for New York on Friday. They had no friends in common to whom she could spread the news of his crime. He felt an odd tenderness for her. That night Arthur Barton dreamed of her. It was not an erotic dream, not a love dream, a very commonplace dream in which she played an unimportant part, and yet he woke with a sense of relaxation he had not known for many months. It was as though he had spoken to her and somehow she had given him words of sympathy which lent him courage to face his enemies who were about to disclose the shameful truth. He had taken a day off his work, though his appointment with the surgeon was not until the evening at 5, and then he was kept waiting for nearly an hour. The surgeon asked him to sit down in a tone of such grave sympathy that he was able to guess accurately enough the report which followed. An operation urgently required. Yes, cancer. But you must not be frightened by the sound of a word. I have known cases as bad as yours. Taken in time, there is always a good hope. When do you want to operate? I would like you to come into hospital tomorrow morning and I will operate the next day. If I could come in the afternoon, you see, they are expecting me to be back at work tomorrow morning. It was not of work he was thinking, but of Mrs. Hogminster. She would be expecting news from him. I would much rather you had a quiet day in bed. However, I will be coming to see you with the anesthetists at 6. As he lay in bed that night, Arthur Barton thought, doctors and surgeons are not necessarily good psychologists. Perhaps because their interests are so concentrated on the body that they forget the mind. They don't realize how much a tone of voice reveals to the patient. They say there is always a good hope. But what the patient hears is there is very little hope, if any. It was not that he was frightened of death. No one could avoid that universal fate. And yet the population of the world was not dominated by fear. All Arthur Barton wanted was to share his knowledge and his secret with a stranger who would not be seriously affected like a wife or a child. He possessed neither, but might with a word of kindly interest share with him this criminal secret. I am condemned. Mrs. Hogminster was just such a woman. He had read it in her eyes. Somehow the next day he would find a way of conveying to her the truth when she asked for the result of the checkup without words which might involve her husband in his crime. She would ask him, "What did the doctor say, Arthur?" And his answer? No, no words. A small shrug of the shoulders would be enough to convey it's all up. Thank you for thinking of me. And the glance that she gave him back would just as discreetly tell him she shared his secret. He would not go alone into the future. You need not keep that table, the manager said. Those Americans were in yesterday and I found them one they liked much better. They were in yesterday? Yes, they do seem to like this place. I thought they were going to the men's cells. I wouldn't know about that. I think you talk too much to the customers, Arthur. Often they want to feel alone. He left hurriedly to meet Mr. and Mrs. Hogminster at the door. Mrs. Hogminster nodded and smiled at Arthur as they went by to a little table isolated in a corner of the restaurant. They had no view now of the street outside, but perhaps, as the manager had suggested, they preferred privacy, and perhaps too they preferred to be served by the manager himself. It was only at the end of their meal, after they had paid their bill, that Mrs. Hogminster called to him as he passed to the kitchen, "Arthur, do come and have a word with us." He went willingly with a lightening of the heart. "Arthur, we missed you. But the manager was so kind and we didn't want to hurt his feelings. I hope you enjoyed your lunch, ma'am." "Oh, but we always do at Chez Augustine," says Augustine, Mr. Hogminster said. "With the sales, you were so right to send us to Jermys Street. My husband bought 2 pairs of pajamas and, can you believe it, three shirts." "She chose them, of course," Mr. Hogminster said. Arthur Barton excused himself and went on into the kitchen. The problem which he had so feared had not arisen, but the thought gave him no relief from the depression of his secret. He was going to say nothing to the manager. The next day he would simply not turn up. The hospital could inform them in due course if he were dead or alive. He spent as little time as he could in the restaurant, though it pained him to see another waiter looking after the Hogminsters and exchanging words with them. Half an hour later the manager came into the kitchen and spoke to him. He carried a letter in his hand. He said, "Mrs. Hogminster asked me to give you this. They have left for the airport." Arthur Barton put the envelope in his pocket. He felt an immense relief. Of course, Mrs. Hogminster had done the right thing. They couldn't have talked about his secret in the restaurant for others to hear. Now he would be able to carry with him to the hospital her sympathetic question about his secret and read it again next day immediately before the anesthetist arrived. He left alone. He felt alone no longer. He would be holding the hand of a stranger in the street. She would never receive the answer to her question. What did the doctor tell you? But she had asked it in her letter, and it was that which counted. Before putting out the light above his hospital bed, he opened the envelope. He was surprised when 3 £1 notes came out first. Mrs. Hogminster wrote, Dear Arthur, I felt I must write you a word of thanks before we catch our plane. We have so enjoyed our visits to Chez Augustine and shall certainly return one day. And the sales, we got such wonderful bargains. You were so right about Jeremy Street. The letter was signed Dolly Hogminster. Wow. Can I put some word after finishing this short story? I mean, this is amazing. First, when I read out the first line, it simply feels like maybe it's something related to the, related to something else. But it's really amazing. I think it's very real, right? I can be right or can be wrong. I'm just telling my thing actually. Okay, the short story has ended, okay? This is something I want to say. When we feel too much depressed, too much sad, and we really want to be alone, we choose to be alone because we don't want to interact with people, thinking that maybe people will not understand what I'm going through right now. But still, somewhere in our heart, we feel like someone should be there, at least a person who will understand, at least not needed to be understood, but at least will hear me out and will make me feel like no, it's nothing wrong, it is good to not gonna judge me for what I'm thinking, for what I'm doing, rather saying it's okay to be you, rather it's okay to think whatever you were thinking. I can be a little jumbled up right now after reading this short story. It's amazing short story by Graham Greene, and I will definitely gonna suggest you to read it once and again. Thank you so much, and please forgive me for this so much annoying sounds around me. And so be happy, be safe, stay blessed always. Like to meet you soon, and please comment below if you like this short story, which part you like most, and recommend me some stories that I can read it out for you. Thank you so much. You all means a lot to me. Thank you.